Hello history buffs and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the trial of Norris, Smeaton, Brereton and Weston, which happened on the 12th of May 1536, a day that would seal the fate of 4 men and set the stage for the downfall of a queen. On the 12th of May 1536, London was buzzed with tension as rumours swirled about Queen Anne Boleyn and her alleged lovers. Just 12 days earlier, arrests had begun, setting off a chain of events that would culminate in one of the most infamous trials in English history. Now, 4 men, once favoured courtiers of King Henry VIII, were about to stand trial for high treason. The men facing judgment were Sir Henry Norris, the King's Groom of the Stool, a man trusted with Henry's most personal matters; Mark Smeaton, a musician of humble birth, plucked from obscurity to serve in the Queen's court; William Brereton, a politically influential figure in Cheshire and North Wales; Sir Francis Weston, a young courtier from the King's Privy Chamber. These men were accused of adultery with Anne Boleyn and conspiring to kill the King. But were they really guilty, or just merely pawns in a larger political game? Escorted from their cells in the Tower of London, the prisoners were transported by barge down the Thames to Westminster Hall. Just imagine the dread they must have felt, knowing that the odds were stacked against them.
I got a bad feeling about this.
The proceedings took place before a special commission of oyer and determiner, meaning to hear and determine, which was presided over by Thomas Audley, the Lord Chancellor. But in reality, the outcome was a foregone conclusion. The jury was hand-picked, ensuring loyalty to Thomas Cromwell and King Henry VIII. Some jurors had personal stakes in the outcome, whether through political alliances or family connections. The jury was indeed hostile, including men who owed favours to Cromwell or the King, or had interests in seeing the accused being brought down. Interestingly, Thomas Boleyn, George and Anne's father, was also amongst the jurors.
Boy, don't make me come up there and be a parent!
First time for everything!
Ho ho ho!
The charges: high treason, adultery with Queen Anne Boleyn, and plotting the King's death. Yet the accused had no legal representation and were unaware of the evidence against them until they stood before the court. The prosecution relied on vague testimonies, inconsistent dates, and the coerced confession of one man, Mark Smeaton. This was of small comfort. The men had little time left, and their execution date was set for the 17th of May, 1536. It's worth noting that the trial moved incredibly fast. The first arrest had taken place on the 30th of April, and within 2 weeks, these men were being tried. This speed suggests a predetermined outcome. There's also debate amongst historians about the motivations behind the trial. Some argue that Thomas Cromwell orchestrated the downfall of Anne Boleyn and these men, possibly using the opportunity to eliminate political enemies. For instance, it suggested that Brereton might have been included to end his control of the Welsh marshes. The men were charged with high treason, including adultery with Queen Anne Boleyn and plotting the King's death. The burden of proof was on the accused to prove their innocence, which was virtually impossible. All 4 men were found guilty. Henry Norris, William Brereton, and Francis Weston pleaded not guilty, while Mark Smeaton pleaded guilty to violation and carnal knowledge of the Queen. Smeaton's confession is one of the great mysteries of this trial. Some historians believe he was tortured. Others suggest he was bribed with promises of leniency. Whatever the case, his words sealed the fate of the others. The punishment for treason was brutal. The men were sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered at Tyburn. But in a twisted act of mercy, King Henry VIII commuted their sentences to beheading, a quicker, less gruesome death. The speed of these events was breathtaking, from arrest to trial to execution in under 3 weeks. It was clear this was a calculated move. 2 days after the trial, Anne Boleyn and her brother George Boleyn, Lord Rochford, would face their own day in court. Henry VIII had once adored Anne, but by May 1536 he was eager to replace her with Jane Seymour. Was this trial about justice, or was it about clearing the path for a new queen? The answer seems obvious to me.
Coincidence? I think not!
The trial of Norris, Smeaton, Brereton and Weston is a stark reminder of the brutal efficiency of Tudor justice. These men, whether guilty or not, were sacrificed to satisfy the ambitions of those in power. Their downfall was swift, their deaths inevitable. And so, on the 12th of May 1536, 4 men were condemned. But the drama was far from over. Anne Boleyn's trial would soon follow, leading to one of the most shocking executions in English history. It's also worth mentioning that despite their convictions, several of these men maintained their innocence until the end. On the scaffold, Brereton's last words were, "The cause whereof I die, judge not, but if you judge, judge the best," which some interpret as a cautious declaration of innocence. This trial set the stage for the subsequent trials of Anne Boleyn and her brother George, which would take place in the following days, ultimately leading to their executions, Anne's being the final execution on the 19th of May 1536. And that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Until the next time, have a wonderful day. Bye!